Hello friends, students and every other person watching this video log. This is my second video lecture wherein of course we'll be going with the accounting basics. It will always remain basics, okay? Because I guess accountancy has a lot of depth and there is no end to it, so it will always remain basics for you people. Today I'll be teaching you about the basic accounting terminology. Now why is basic accounting terminology required? Because this will really help you in understanding. So later on when we start doing sums, we should not be getting a doubt as to why is it or what is this, we should not be doing a blind entry, because that will not really help us in becoming or using this knowledge is always important and it can be used in various purposes. So we need to know why is, if I am saying drawings, the best example, okay, you people should know what does drawing mean, why is the term used here. Only then you'll be able to give the correct recording of the transaction and then give a correct effect to the same. Okay, now not consuming too much of time, let's move on with understanding the terminologies. I guess we have around 17. These are just the basics. You have many more terminologies, but we will stick to a few basics. That's it. First coming asset. What does asset mean? If I just throw a general question like this, what does asset mean? Asset simply means bhai koi bhi property ho apna. Now I can also say that this book is mine, this laptop is mine, or maybe this board, this duster is itself an asset for me. Okay, but such a general definition will not work when we are trying to do accountancy, because there are various classifications and bifurcations. So we need to understand the depth of it. Now when I say asset, it can be divided or classified into tangible and intangible. Okay, if you're well versed in English vocabulary, you will definitely know tangible means what we can touch, feel, such things. Now the moment I say intangible, we cannot touch, we cannot feel, then what is an example for it? So the best part is assuming in the future after 10 years, after 5 years, इतना ज़्यादा भी नहीं लगाते हैं, I get some name, okay, in the market कि भाई ये professor अच्छा पढ़ाता है. Now this is my intangible asset, because this is my name, because of which I'll be having more students or more viewership or whatever it is. So basically that is an intangible asset for me. Okay. Tangible asset is maybe I buy a car, that will be my tangible asset at that time. Then we have fixed and current assets in fixed assets. Now what does a fixed asset mean? What does a current asset mean? Matlab, can a laptop be a fixed asset or a current asset? Now there is no so when we say fixed asset, the only thing that the definition says is if it is held for more than 1 year, it will be called as a fixed asset. If it is held for less than 1 year, it will be called as a current asset. So a laptop or maybe a mic or a duster can be a fixed asset or can be a current asset, depending on for how many years are we holding it, or maybe more than 1 year or less than 1 year. As simple as that. So in assets, we should always remember fixed or current assets. Tangible and intangible may not be much of a problem for you people, but however, if it does come, you need to know what is it. If I say goodwill, you people should not be thinking, oh, it could be a tangible asset, I don't know. It should not be like that. Remove the confusion out of your head, be very clear in your head. Okay? Generally, fixed or current, we need to know. Then we come to liability. What does liability mean? We always first define what the term is and then we go to the classification. What does liability mean? Now when I say liability, it's anything that the firm owes, the firm or the business or the individual owes to the outsider. And then because he has earlier taken something, or for some service earlier taken for which he was required to pay at a later point of time, or some goods taken for which he was required to pay at a later point of time. Okay, so this will create a liability for the business in case business has taken any but then has not paid in the by immediate effect, or has entered into an agreement that it will pay at a later point of time. So that will become a liability. Now even in liability, we have two things: long-term liability and short-term liability. When I say long-term liability, you can, aankh mooch ke, they say, aankh band karke you apply the same concept of fixed assets and current assets. 1 साल से ज़्यादा, 1 साल से कम. Long-term liability will be more than 1 year. when I say short-term liability is less than 1 year. Very simple. What is capital? This I'm sure you had even learnt about it in the first class. I don't remember. No, maybe. However, so capital is nothing but what the businessman has invested in the business. It's as simple as that. All the investment of the businessman into his own business will be called as capital. Okay, this is a type of a liability. Remember this. Why is it a liability? Because in the next lecture, you people will come across a concept called as entity concept. The entity concept says that the business and the businessman are two different or separate entities. Okay. However, Companies Act and your Income Tax Act may treat them as same, but for the purpose of accountancy, they both are different, and that is why we have the concept called as capital, wherein whatever you invest, whatever you keep investing in your business, that will go into the account of capital. So it will show the bifurcation that how much have you invested in your business, showing the accounts of your business separately and your account separately. Okay, that's a different issue. So capital is nothing but what you have invested. How do we arrive at capital now? In the balance sheet, we have total assets minus external liabilities. Even though capital is a liability, but this is an internal liability. The rest of them, whatever you're taking from outsiders, will be called as external liabilities. So total assets minus external liabilities will give you capital. Our fourth point, expenditure. Expenditure, very simple, don't you think? हम कुछ भी खर्चा करें, खर्चा is equal to expenditure, as simple as that, layman term. Okay, but as I told you, we always have classifications and bifurcations. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so we always have bifurcations wherein expenditure can be divided into three types: capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, and deferred revenue expenditure. खर्चा होता है well and good, but इनका classification हो जाता है. एक तो है, when I say capital expenditure, when we always incur an expenditure to earn some future benefit. Remember this. Any expenditure is only meant for earning some kind of benefit. ऐसी donation में नहीं देंगे हम लोग. Okay, there has to be some benefit. So when I say capital expenditure, when such a benefit that we are trying to accrue for ourselves, is over a long term period, over a number of years, we will be receiving such a benefit. Then for such a benefit, when we are expending something, this will be called as a capital expenditure. Generally, when you incur a capital expenditure, there is a generation or a creation of an asset. Now when I say revenue expenditure, it should be opposite to capital, of course. When I say revenue expenditure, such a benefit does not, you have it, but it is limited to only this year. You are expending in this year, you will get also in this year. बस ये benefit फिर से next year को नहीं आएगा unless and until you actually expend some more money. Okay, capital expenditure, you expend right now everything, but however you will be receiving the benefit over the number of years. Revenue expenditure limited to only 1 year. Then what is deferred revenue expenditure? Deferred revenue expenditure is a kind of a revenue expenditure only. Okay, but basically there is no generation or a creation of another asset. The best example is legal expenditure. Okay, there is, so income tax ने कुछ कर दिया है जिसके वजह से अपने को कोर्ट को जाना पड़ा. We had to go to the court because of the income tax department. Okay, now you have to pay the counsel money to argue, because he will not argue for free just because you were not at fault. Assuming we are not at fault and finally it comes in our favor, but at the end of the day we have to incur the legal expenditure. Assuming 4-5 lakhs, it's a big amount for us. So this we will take it over the number of years. There is no benefit over the number of years. We will not accrue any benefit out of it. There we were always in one position. We would be continuing to remain in that position, but there is an expenditure that has been incurred. So this will be deferred over the number of years. We will claim a part of such expenditure in each of the year for some number of years. So this is deferred revenue expenditure for you. Now we have debtors and creditors. When I say debtors, any money receivable by the business, in the course of business. So those people who have to pay the business will be called as debtors. and the people to whom we have to pay in the course of business are called as creditors. Now, when I say in the course of business, what do I mean? I mean that we are transacting or doing business with them. We are just not plainly taking some kind of a loan or something, but we are transacting. We are selling goods or we are purchasing goods, and in that process, if there is any owing of money which arises, then there will be creation or generation of debtors or creditors. Debtors are the people who will be paying us, they are assets for us. Creditors are the people जिनको हमें पैसा देना है, whom we have to pay money. They are liability for us. Then we have bills receivable, bills payable on similar terms. Bills receivable, as the term says, receivable. They are as good as debtors. For us, when the moment I note down something as a bills receivable, which means there is a debtor standing on the other side. We are going to receive money against that bill receivable. And bill payable, as good as creditors. We have to pay. Cost. Cost is material हमने खरीदा है. Assuming we are a manufacturing company, we have purchased material. Okay. Now we manufacture it. We, change the whole shape of it, and then finally a flower comes out. A better example is a mobile phone comes out with all the raw material. I have prepared a mobile phone. Okay, a cell phone. Now this cell phone is later on packaged. There are advertising expenses because not everyone will simply come and take my phone because there's Samsung or maybe there's Nokia or there is BlackBerry. Apple is of course there, and so many other brands. So why would someone come and purchase my product? I'll have to incur heavy advertisement expenditure and various other expenditure, and finally we are able to sell one. So all these expenses that would be incurred to sell the product will be called as the cost. That will come under cost. So we can say cost per unit. When I say cost per unit, what does it mean? Which means that all the expenditure divided by the total number of units that we have produced, so finally you'll get the cost per product. So basically I'm trying to explain that what is cost? Cost includes everything, right from starting stage till the ending stage till you sell it. Then we have stock. Stock can be firstly of three types, that raw material stock or work in progress stock, or then you have the finished product stock. Okay, हमने raw material खरीद लिया है. We are doing the production definitely, but by the end of the year, some raw material was left out. That will be considered as stock in our books of account. That some stock, raw material stock is left. Now we are processing. It's not like ऊपर से हमने कुछ डाला, नीचे सीधा finished product आया. No, it's not like that. There are various processes in completing or finishing a finished product. So for that, maybe a few of them are left in between. They're still in the process of getting manufactured or becoming a finished product. They'll become stock for us at the end of the year when we are actually closing our books. Then we have finished goods also, which were not sold, and hence they remain as stock. In that also we have opening stock and closing stock. When I say opening stock is last year's balance. मैंने last year एक बार अपने books बंद किए, अभी फिर से नए साल के लिए I'm opening my books of accounts. In that, opening stock comes, and closing stock will be at the end of the year how much stock is left. In each one you will bifurcate it, maybe raw material, finished goods, work in progress, etc., etc. So that is stock for you. Then we are on the 11th one, that's profit. Easiest term, profit, munafa. Most of them will know this because we all try to make some. So when I say profit, it means revenue minus expenditure. Whatever income you are getting, or what, say you are expending something to earn an income. Now this income minus the expenditure, you get the profit. Over and above the expenditure, how much ever you are earning will be your profit element. Okay. In profit also we have two kinds. One is operating profit, one is non-operating profit. What is operating profit? When I say, as I told you, we always have classifications in this. So when I say operating profit is nothing but the profit which we get or which arises out of the business transactions, purely business transactions. When I say non-operating profit, it does not arise out of business transactions. The best example is हमने machinery खरीदा है, but my business is to sell phones. But at the end of the day, I sold the machinery for some reason. So when I bought it, it was 60,000, but I sold it for 70,000. So the profit element 10,000 will come under non-operating profit because it's not my daily business activity that I generally do. It is a non-business activity, but still I'm earning a profit out of it. So this will be coming under non-operating profit. Then we have discount. In discount, a businessman can give two kinds: cash discount and a trade discount. So when I say a trade discount, definitely in the business activity, if they are buying in bulk quantity or something, you can always give a trade discount. Chalo bhai, you're taking, instead of 10 quintals, you're taking 25 quintals. Let me offer you a discount of 5% or 10%. So he would be better motivated to take a lot of stock from you. So in bulk, you're going to make the profit. Now when I say cash discount, this happens generally in so instead of making that person who has to pay you money, instead of making him pay you at a later point of time and showing him as a debtor in your books, let him pay the whole of the amount right now. For that, you give him a small discount. If you pay to me in cash, I'll give you a 5% discount. Now why is this useful? Because at a later point of time, there's always a risk that he might not pay. You don't want that. Okay, so that's why you might just offer him a cash discount, that Baba, you अभी के अभी मुझे cash में दे दो, मैं आपको direct discount दे दूंगा. Of course he will take it, as long as there is some lesser liability, he'll try to go for it. That's the reason for a bifurcation, cash and trade discount. Drawings. Now you had learnt about capital. When you're investing your money in the business, your capital grows. But the same thing, when you're taking out money from your business, that will be called as drawings. As simple as that. Capital is your investments in the business, and when you're taking back those money, they're drawings from the business. Owner's equity as good as capital. Owner's equity is nothing but the capital invested in this one. Total assets minus external liabilities. Solvent and insolvent. So when I say solvent is nothing but if a person is able to pay his debts, he'll be called as a solvent. But when a person is unable to pay his debts, he'll be called as an insolvent. Very simple definition. See, I am making it very short so that you people just know the basics and you understand it. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि you're completely blank. You need to know what does each term mean and why is it being used. Then we have accounting year. So we all have accounting years. वो generally होता है अपना financial year. As per income tax, we have it from 1st April to 31st March. So we choose one whole year. That will be called as your accounting year. Okay, and we follow the concept of going concern. मतलब क्या हुआ? Going concern का मतलब ये है कि the business will continue for a long time. But how will we know whether we are making any profit or not? Profit कितना हुआ है? Which means you have to close the books. मतलब इस साल तक इतना हुआ है. So when will you close the book? जब मन चाहे तब. Whenever you want to close the books. That will not bring in uniformity. Okay. So to bring in uniformity and to understand what is the position of the business, we have the accounting year concept from one period to the other. Then we understand as to what are the profits or the losses in that particular year. So accounting year. The last one is contingent liability. English term for contingent. Contingent means something which is dependent on something. A very, very vague definition, of course, which means it is not certain. So when I say contingent liabilities or contingent assets for that reason, this liability may arise at a later point of time, depending on some circumstance. So we do not know whether that will actually come. How does this play a role in accounts? Because we have to disclose the contingent liabilities according to prudence concept, which will again come in the next lecture. As per contingent liabilities, we'll have to disclose it if it is substantial. If it is material कि भाई lawsuit है, we might lose. It's a liability, which might arise, but you don't know what will happen. You will show it. You will show it at the end of the balance sheet. कहीं छोटा सा disclosure करेंगे. We'll show it as a disclosure that yes, there is a contingent liability which could probably arise. So that's it, people. For now, these are the accounting terminologies, and hope this helps you in understanding most of the transaction in accounts. Thank you so much.